Welcome to Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Brian Mroziak being joined today by South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer. We're going to be discussing the new Sheepskin Trail, which is now opened up through South Union Township. Inside South Union Township is brought to you as a joint cooperative venture featuring Township Supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Vernon and Jason Scott, Atlantic Broadband Cable, Armstrong Cable, and our friends at CUTV. Again, this is Brian Mroziak alongside Bob Schiffbauer, and really an exciting time through South Union Township over the last couple of weeks. The Sheepskin Trail has opened up.
Yeah, we have a great addition to our township. We've always been very proud of our recreation program, but the hiking and biking trail that we just recently completed is a great addition to what we have to offer to our residents, and not just the residents of South Union. It's open to anybody who lives in the area, Fayette County and beyond, and we are certainly getting a high volume of usership of the trail.
During the second half of our program today, we're actually going to show you some video of the new Sheepskin Trail through South Union Township. But let's go back. How did this whole process start?
Well, funny, it really started back actually in 1998. It seemed like a long time.
Almost 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, that's when the National Road Heritage people come through, and they were planning the initial proposed course of the Sheepskin Trail. That's a 36 miles that travels from the Great Alleghenies Passage from Connersville area down to Point Marion. And we sat down and we set out a tentative course through South Union Township, and they did that through all the other municipalities involved. And the only section that was really completed was in 2006 when they completed the Sheepskin Trail checks, and it goes from Connersville to Dunbar Borough. Point Marion's been in the process the last few years trying to get their trail, 1.7 miles trail that they share with Spring Hill Township. But as what gave us our emphasis and moved us in the direction of doing the trail, I received a letter, me and the other supervisors, and I do want to take time out to give thanks to Mr. Vernon and Mr. Scott for not only helping with the trail, they've done a great job in supporting and backing the trail. We've utilized our men to a great extent. It's stretched our resources, and but we've all worked it out, and everything has come to a point where we're very satisfied.
It really looks nice.
Yeah, it really looks nice, and we still maintain our regular level of service and all the other things that we do in South Union Township. But we received a letter from Dr. Marshall, who lives in South Union Township, and he teaches dentistry at WVU. And he very politely in a letter asking us and stating that he appreciated, like the parks we had in South Union, but if we could do something in the way of bicycle trail. He's a bicycler. And I took the letter, and knowing Dr. Marshall, that's where it started. It started from that point, and I knew trails have always been very successful in other parts of the country. We've always maintained and built a strong recreation program in South Union Township, and we felt this was time for us to take a big leap in the direction of bringing the trail to South Union Township, it being the Sheepskin Trail, our section.
Now, in terms of construction, when did the initial construction start?
Well, we submitted an application first before we did anything to DCNR, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. That's the state agencies that handles the funding for trails, in the amount of $260,000. And the project or the application was approved for that amount. The portion that we were concerned about is matching that. And we took the approach here in South Union Township, a match of $260,000, that's a pretty big sum of money. But knowing that we had the workers and the equipment here in South Union Township, we were allowed to, instead of coming up with township dollars, using our personnel and equipment as an in-kind match, doing the work ourselves.
In a way, you almost have the infrastructure in place.
Yeah, and well, the application was approved the latter part of last year, and we got the green light in December to begin. So what we did with our workers, that's a time of the year when if it's not stone, there's not a lot of work for our crew to do. And so we put them to work on the trail.
And you actually had a relatively mild winter, which probably helped out.
And we were very fortunate. We knew we were at the mercy of the weather as to how much we could do. And it started out that we were just going to do the clearing and grubbing of the trail. And as we went on with the good weather, we basically completed the clearing and grubbing. And fortunate with the workers we have, their knowledge and their abilities and skills, we actually went into the trail building business. And we stayed at it. Like I said, some days we had maybe 2 good people working on trails. Some days we might have had 4, 5, 6 people working on the trail. And we got an awful lot done in a relatively short period of time. We officially actually began work in the first part of January. That's when we got the green light from DCNR, all the applications, and were certified, and we began to work then. And it just kept on going day after day after day. It became quite apparent that we'd taken on a big project. But working with our men, with my fellow supervisors, we just stayed at it, and we started to see some light at the end of the tunnel. And here we were 2 Fridays ago. We basically completed the hard part of the trail.
The paving.
The base and the paving.
And you actually had the initial gravel, I guess, down a few months beforehand, and some folks were already taking advantage on the gravel portion. I know when I got back from vacation 2 weeks ago, everything was already laid and ready to go. It was a nice surprise coming back home.
Yeah, as soon as word started to circulate that we were building the trail, the curiosity seekers came out, and as we started to lay down and actually build the trail, it was amazing. We had people using the trail, and we weren't even halfway done with it. And you could see as we completed completion of it, the usership just increased to the number. And the first weekend, once we finished the paving, we pretty much did a count. We probably had anywhere from 1,500 to 1,800 people use the trail in just really a 2.5 day period.
I know I've been on it several times. My wife and I have been going down there walking almost every night, and it's been nice living here in South Union Township, having that now available basically right down the street from where I live. And it's so nice to have that recreation right in our backyards. And you look at where the trail starts, right near the South Union Uniontown border over on Barton Mill Road, going all the way out to Hutchinson Park.
Yeah, it's approximately 2.2 miles in length right now, what we've completed. I think because of the great turnout of the people using it, shows that there's a need and a thirst of projects like this, not in just South Union Township, but throughout this county, and particularly trying to work to the end where we can build in its entirety the Sheepskin Trail from Dunbar Borough to Point Marion.
And I know we talked before we actually taped this program. Obviously, you have to work with some of the townships which are connecting to you, like Uniontown and Georges Township, to try to get this whole project complete. What's the status moving forward of trying to get this outside now of South Union Township?
Well, the commissioners have taken the lead with Donna Holdorf from the National Ridge Heritage Corridor Program. She's been working at this for years now, and representing the county. I know I've worked a lot with her, not only just with South Union Project, but being involved with her and the county commissioners. This group of county commissioners totally committed to building the Sheepskin Trail in its entirety. Recently, they allotted $250,000 of grant money, or money from the county money, recreation money, for the Point Marion project to get that project moving, and it should be starting here shortly. I think they're going out for rebid on some of the items that were too expensive in the past, and that trail's 1.7 miles. And what we're looking for our neighbors, I know Georges Township, the supervisors are very interested in doing the segment of their trail, and since we're only about a quarter of a mile from where we ended up with our new trail to the Georges border, we're looking at possibly submitting a joint application for a trail to be completed and worked on by both South and Georges Township as a cooperative effort between two municipalities.
I'm sure everybody would like to see the trail expanded in that area and throughout Fayette County. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to take a little ride on the Sheepskin Trail right through South Union Township.
Davis and Davis, helping the injured.
If you're injured in an accident, after you address the medical problems, you're going to be faced with numerous questions concerning who's going to pay your medical bills, your property damage, the wages that you might be losing if you can't go to work. These are things that you need counsel for.
That your income is protected, that your bills are paid, that your family's taken care of. We've been doing this since 1976. We've helped injured people. We can help you.
Davis and Davis, attorneys at law.
We're back here on Inside South Union Township on the South Union Township Network. Brian Mroziak being joined by South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer. We're discussing the Sheepskin Trail here today. A portion of the Sheepskin Trail now opened up through South Union Township. You had an opportunity with Jerry Dupay earlier in the week to take a little ride down the Sheepskin Trail.
Yeah, we have used this opportunity to show the people out there in TV land what we have here in South Union Township and maybe give them an idea what they have to look forward to when they come out and actually use the trail.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be nice not only watching the Sheepskin Trail here on TV, but actually getting an opportunity to utilize it here in person. And as we said over the last couple of weeks, it's amazing how busy the trail's been. It's only been open for a few weeks, but already getting a lot of use here through the township. And of course, this is the Barton Mill Road section of the Sheepskin Trail.
Yeah, this is the northern head end of the trail. That open area there is going to be for parking. We're going to gravel it. That's located on Center Drive. There's the parking area. The township purchased a small 1/10 of an acre. It's right there at the intersection of Barton Row Alley and Cinder Drive. And the trail begins there, as you can see it. We'll be going in a southerly direction. Actually, we'll be headed into the little community of Leith. And this is the initial portion here as we're coming into Leith. We're basically on the old Penn Central Railroad, which is perfect for these rails and trails projects. And as you can see, what's nice about this, most of the trail was actually in a wooded area. And even though we're right next to the community of Leith, we're on the periphery where we do, fortunately, has a considerable amount of trees and foliage. And as you can see, we continue down the trail here. We're entering into an area where the old Leith mine was located, and we weren't able to follow the railroad bed. It was all destroyed. And we're into an area right now between the two railroad tracks where the actual mine tipple. Now, as we're coming up to this shot here, on the left side of the trail was where the tipple to the mine was located. And as we're headed right now, I don't know if you can visualize, there's a little bit of a wall on the right. That's where one row of the coke ovens is located.
Okay.
And as you can see, we're
a couple of bikers ahead of you there.
Yeah, and to the left was the other row of the coke ovens, and it's amazing how supportive the ground was in that area. One of the things is going through a wooded area, you were concerned about the stability of the ground, but when they filled the mine in, they used all the stone, brick, and ashes, and the coke that just made it perfect for our bed. Now we're coming out here to the Uniontown Golf Course Country Club, but I want to show you first on the left side where Jerry recorded here is the actual partial wall of where the foundation, where the coke oven actually is located, and we're going to erect a monument there showing the picture of the old coke oven. It blends in exactly with where that wall is.
What's nice is the trail's plenty wide, and you mentioned going through the wooded areas really keeps you cool on those hot summer days.
Yes, it does. It's perfect. Now, here we are. We're at the end of the driving range of the Uniontown Country Club. And to make it work there, and I want to state that Brian Boyle, the owner of the country club, was fantastic in granting us an easement through his property. So what we did, we took the trail and we went in the direction close to the Southwestern Pennsylvania Railroad. Now that's the active railroad. And we had to, on the right here, erect the poles and the netting for safety purposes.
Keeps you safe, for sure.
Yeah, and it's working out great. The netting there varies from 15 to 30 feet in height. And
you only have the driving range there, too. The golf course is still a good 50 to 100 yards away, so you're not really butted up against the golf course at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't disturb the people actually playing golf on the courts itself. We're in an area that really doesn't disturb anybody, and it just worked out good for the trail. And we're coming now to the end of the driving range, and it's bringing us back in the direction of the old Penn Central Railroad, which we eventually get back on. And as you can see here to the right, I don't think we can see the tee box, but that's where the golf course is. We'll be erecting a privacy fence there to not disturb the golfers.
And that's actually just the driving range, not the actual course itself right there.
And there again, I still want to say thank you to Brian Boyle for him working with us and allowing our trail to go through his property. Now we're back on the old Penn Central Railroad, and we're coming up to South Union Township Municipal Building and our facilities here. It's a nice wooded area. From this point here, the township actually owns the property, and we own the property all the way from this point up to Redstone Furnace Road, where we'll be crossing. But right now, we're still on the township property. You can see here the roadway, the trail is nice and wide. We're crossing one of 4 bridges that we actually have to maneuver over. And the building you see to your right there is one of our garages. And we take the course to the trail behind the garage. It doesn't interfere with our operation at Township. And we're crossing Township Drive right here. And we just crossed the drive. And we're back onto a piece of property we recently purchased, 23 acres, that included the old Penn Central Railroad track. The remainder of the property we're going to be using for township purposes sometime here in the future. But as we go back onto the old railroad, you'll see here once we get by some of the barriers, temporary barriers that we've erected. But you can see once again a nice wooded area. It is perfect for trail construction. We didn't have to do an awful lot in the way of extra work to prepare the surface for the paving. We just had to put some gravel down, and as I said, recently covered with the amosite. Our workers, now it was a lot grown in this area before we started with our workers, but they did a great job, and I'm going to commend our workers. They've done a fantastic job, day after day working on the project and listening to my orders sometimes, which were sometimes a little confusing. This is the first time I've ever built a trail, or the supervisor ever built a trail, but we're passing some more users here. We're coming up to the little brownfield area. That's off to our right, and there again, we're separated from the actual dwellings because of the location of the railroad or the trail in the wooded area.
And really nice and quiet when you walk through here as well.
Yeah.
And what I'm amazed by is the number of local schools that have already started to utilize this trail for their cross-country teams and track teams early on in the school year as well.
Yeah, I've talked to Mr. Everhart, who's, I think he's the head of the cross-country team.
Correct.
At Uniontown, and they're elated with the trail. And one thing we've been able to accomplish, it is really a safety factor. People's been running on Township Drive, Cinder Road, and back into the Bailey Park area. We're fortunate we haven't had any serious accidents with pedestrians and vehicles. This trail here will give these runners and joggers and bikers an opportunity to do their thing. and do it in an area where they're not going to have to worry that they're going to be injured or struck by a vehicle.
And as you've seen while watching this video, all of the crossings clearly marked as well.
Yeah, we've marked them all, and we even have additional signage and markings to put up to make them as safe as possible. And we certainly don't want to see anybody hurt, but this trail does really significantly help out with the safety factor for people exercising in our township.
And you mentioned to me off the air as well, you're going to be adding some markings on the trail itself over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, because some people are new to trails. Slow traffic has to keep to the right. We're going to have to do some signs to remind people that. And also we have our rules and regulations that we're going to be posting. No motorized vehicles allowed on the trails, no horses. Now, we've just crossed Redstone Furnace. We're entering into the Meadowbrook area of the township. This is, to the right is a recreation area, ball field. I don't think we showed that in the film here.
See it a little bit there off to the right.
Yeah, there's a fence there. But the property owners along here have been very cooperative. We did purchase, or was donated by a piece of property here that goes from Redstone Furnace Road up to the bypass, which we will be approaching here pretty soon, by the Zudra family, who lives, I think, in Baltimore. And they actually donated the property, and we'll be dedicating a bench with the family, the senior family member names on here shortly. But we're coming up to the Uniontown bypass, of which we go under, and we parallel Stadium Drive. And we were fortunate enough to still maintain our approximate 9-foot wide trail. And even though it does border on the edge of the road there, we were going to be constructing some barriers and markers to try to delineate where the trail is and where the road is, and improve the safety factor. Now, we're about ready to transition from this side of the road to the north side of the road, over to the southern side of the road, onto the trail along Stadium Drive. This property is owned by South Union Township, and it goes all the way into the township park at Hutchinson.
I think this is the real gem that you'll be coming up to here, the bridge. You want to tell the folks about that?
Yeah. Well, we have the stream on the right here. The bridge that we're going to be coming up on was a pedestrian bridge that we're able to have donated to the township by PennDOT, and it come from the intersection upgrade in New Stanton. And PennDOT and the contractor, we worked together. It's a 120-foot long section, 2 sections, a 55-foot section that we used here. It's an old pedestrian bridge that they removed as part of that project in New Stanton.
Well, how nice is that?
Yeah, what we did, we took the pedestrian portion here and we covered it and trying to help with the aesthetics of the bridge. We covered it to make it look like we have our own, and we do have our own wooden covered bridge here in South Union Township.
There's a nice look at it.
Here's another shot at it. Our workers, we were able to get the wood from rough cut wood, pine wood. It was stained, and our workers did all the work. They put the wood up, the roof on, and the cupola, along with the weather vane that tops the bridge, is a very nice added touch to the bridge. Now, what we're showing here is the existing trail. It is part of our Sheepskin Trail that runs through our park at Hutchinson, behind the Mulholland Field and the Bob Nichols Field. And as you see here, this is the portion where you have this series of small dams that really gives a nice added traction to the trail and helps with the aesthetics of it. And this portion of the trail will run along, continue to where the trail will terminate for right now, and that's up by the pavilion area and the playground area that's going to be coming up here shortly.
What's always nice about Hutchinson, you have so many different trail options. You also have the one extension which goes kind of up and above the park just to give you a little bit of different look so you don't get kind of bored with the same old routine down there.
Yeah, we have the level area, which is almost a half a mile in its length. And then if you're more vigorous and looking for more exercise, it goes up along the hillside. And then even off of that paved area too is another graveled area, which is even a little bit more challenging. But this park, this trail, along with the addition of the Sheepskin Trail, has just become it's just another added factor to attract people when using our park. We've always had heavy use of the park, and now with the new trail, that's just going to, I think, increase substantially.
And you even added a little reading area, I guess, down to Hutchinson within the last year?
Yeah, it comes up here in between the two pavilions where the playground is. And it's mostly reading for children. It's a voluntary thing where either you can borrow books and read them, the children can read them. If you want to donate to it, you just come down to the park here and put the book inside the container there.
There it is,
just
right
on
there.
The right.
Yep.
It's a wooden structure with a glass front. But this is where the head end trail ends for the Sheepskin Trail.
And really a nice, and there you see the trail itself, and another look at the bridge there as well.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see the cupola and the weather vane on the top, but people just been stopping, looking at the bridge, and it's just kind of like icing on the cake.
And you've done a nice job completing this in such a short period of time.
Yeah, well, you figure we started back in January, and it's about an 8-month project. There's a nice shot of the sign. It was just put up yesterday, and we're very proud of the way things turned out, and it is an example of what happens when you have the three supervisors working together and trying to provide something that's useful and unique to the residents of our township.
And I have to think you were really ahead of schedule during this whole program as well, considering the fact, as you mentioned earlier, that you had a pretty mild winter.
Yeah, we had a pretty mild winter, and I know that really helped out an awful lot. And our crew, I really commend them with all the hard work that they put into it, and to help make something like this possible. And it's just a fine addition to the township. And like I said, not just for township residents. There's many more people who uses our parks and our recreation facilities way beyond our borders, and we're glad to have them.
And you mentioned you still have a few other ideas for trying to refine and upkeep the Sheepskin Trail over the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot more things we do. Events you can plan. One of our employees come up with an idea. She said, why don't you have something for the Halloween? We're going to have a Sheepskin Trail Halloween event here. We're going to put it together, and we'll do a little Halloween thing, a scary situation there walking along the trail. But there's a lot of things you can do with the trail.
There's another look at the bridge by the Hutchinson Park, and really gives you a good feel for what the Sheepskin Trail is all about. But the only real way, I think, to experience is to experience the trail for yourself. And there's a look again at the end of the Sheepskin Trail. This is inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Brian Mroziak being joined by South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer. Will wrap up this episode of Inside South Union Township in just a moment.
Davis and Davis, helping the injured.
If you're injured in an accident, after you address the medical problems, you're going to be faced with numerous questions concerning who's going to pay your medical bills, your property damage, the wages that you might be losing if you can't go to work. These are things that you need counsel for.
That your income is protected, that your bills are paid, that your family's taken care of. We've been doing this since 1976. We've helped injured people. We can help you.
Davis and Davis, attorneys at law.
We're back here on Inside South Union Township. Brian Mroziak alongside South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer talking about the new portion of the Sheepskin Trail, which has just opened up through South Union Township. Let's talk about some of the economic benefits for this new Sheepskin Trail here for the township.
Yeah, it's one thing that I was pretty well ignorant of until I really got into researching in the benefit of trails. And it's amazing how many how extensive trail systems are in other parts of the country, and we're way behind that here in our area. But the ironic thing is, we have one of the most popular trails in the United States in the northern part of our county. That's the Great Allegheny Passage, and we still haven't done much other than a little section from Connsville to Dunbar Borough, and what we've just done here in South Union Township. But the amazing thing is, that I know in researching these trails, the health and welfare, that's very understandable. But what these trails have done in other areas is boosting the economy. In the Great Allegheny Passage, the four-county area that goes through southwestern Pennsylvania, once the trail opened up and broadened its scope to Washington, D.C., they're bringing in excess of $65 million a year.
Wow.
In that four-county area. In Lackawanna County, they opened up a 43-mile section here a few years ago. They're bringing in $91 million into their local economy. And I think it's imperative that we all work together with the lead taken by our county commissioners in getting the Sheepskin Trail done.
And I think that's when you'll really reap the full economic benefit, is being able to work with your partners in Georges Township and the city of Uniontown to be able to complete their sections as well, which will in essence expand your portion of the Sheepskin Trail.
Yeah, the county's doing a feasibility study now to complete the trail. It's taken too long for this trail to be completed, but well, we have to do it now. Now's the time to do it.
You made a lot of headway, though.
Yeah, and I think there's more interest in the Sheepskin Trail than there's ever been, and now it's time to strike the iron while it's hot. But the thing about the economy, the biggest factor and the biggest part of our economy here in Fayette County is tourism. And it's a no-brainer to see the value of what a completed Sheepskin Trail, how it will benefit our tourist business and economy here in Fayette County. They go hand in hand. And I think there are possibilities of regenerating our economy are very limited here in the county, unfortunately. But this is one aspect that I think that can really help our economy in the county, is by further boosting the tourism through this trail system. Right now, there's a push on, it's called P2P, Parkersburg to Pittsburgh. There's no doubt that the trail system, which is quite extensive in West Virginia, they're going to make their final hookups to actually the Pennsylvania border and Point Marion here in the next year or two. The only question is, will the Sheepskin Trail be completed in order to do that Parkersburg to Pittsburgh? If we can pull that off, considering the extensive system that exists in West Virginia and trails, coupled with one of the most popular trails in the United States, Great Allegheny Passage, if you can go from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., through Connsville, through Ohio Powell, it has so much potential, and we have to take advantage of that. And I know our county commissioners are working hard on this, and I think if they're able to make the financial commitment over the next 4, 5, 6 year period, that Sheepskin Trail will be completed.
And if you're watching this program before August the 31st, really a big dedication coming up for the Sheepskin Trail.
Yeah, we're having the dedication here in South Union Township, August 31st at 6:30 at our township park at Hutchinson, where the new Sheepskin Trail actually enters the park. It actually, the new bridge crosses Redstone Creek right into our park, and that's where we're going to be having the ceremonies. Tom Sexton from the Rails to Trails Conservancy will be there speaking, as well as Donna Holdorf, and along with the 3 supervisors of South Union Township, which I want to commend my fellow supervisors for working with our crew and with myself and helping make it supply. It's been a team effort on South Union's part, and there's no reason why this can't be accomplished in the other municipalities throughout the county. And coupled with the help from the Fayette County Commissioners, I think this is doable. We have to be patient. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of challenges, but I think if we can pull this off, we're going to see some the pot of gold at the end of the Sheepskin Trail rainbow.
I know I've enjoyed the portion of the trail running through South Union Township, and hopefully you'll get an opportunity to go out and experience it as well, especially now while the weather's nice, because it's going to be winter before you know it.
Yeah, and the comments from the people using the trail, even actually on the trail, or the people I run into during the course of the day, it's overwhelming how well the trail's been taken, how the people like it. How they notice how they're using it now, and
I'm out bike shopping now. We were
There you
walking
go.
and running the trail. Now I want to go and get a bike.
Well, just one further story to back that up. I ran into a couple here the other day. They're from the area. They've been working in Pittsburgh their whole life. Now they're moving back to Fayette County, and both of them said they want to buy a house close to our Sheepskin Trail.
That's nice. That's nice.
great.
Certainly a great benefit having the Sheepskin Trail, as you said, starting over on Barton Row, right at the South Union Uniontown border, running all the way out to the Hutchinson Park. This has been a very informative program. Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer, appreciate you taking the time to talk to the residents of the township here on the South Union Township Network.
And I do want to commend the good work that K2 Engineering, they've been our engineer. They've been working with us with the DCNR who monitors our program. Ryan Richards, he's the assigned engineer to our project. He's done a fantastic job. And
you and your entire team should be commended, because getting this whole project together in the short period of time since you actually started construction is amazing. That less than 8 or 9 months into things, we already have a completed trail.
well, and I think that can happen in other portions
Again,
of our
expanding
county.
over 2 miles, as you said as well.
Yeah, and I think we have to try to help each other. We're looking to work with Georges Township, the city, and North Union Township. It's doable.
It is. It is. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer joining us here on Inside South Union Township. Inside South Union Township is a joint cooperative venture featuring Township Supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Vernon, and Jason Scott, Atlantic Broadband Cable, Armstrong Cable, and our friends at CUTV. Again, for Bob Schiffbauer, this is Brian Mroziak. Have a great day.